Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of West Palm Beach Historic Preservation Board meeting for November 17th, 2021. Can we please begin with a roll call?
Amanda Schuyler.
Here.
Kristen Kellogg. Let the record reflect that Kristen Kellogg is not present. Dan Pickney.
Here.
Gabriel Jaslowski.
Here.
Ken Breslauer.
Here.
Reginald Stambaugh.
Here.
Keith Williams. Let the record reflect that Keith Williams is not present. Donna Tomaszewski.
Here. We now move on to approval of the agenda for tonight's meeting. Do you have any changes to the agenda as presented?
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair. Besides the items that are already listed on your agenda to be continued, we would also request that the board continue case 21-98 for 550 Northwood Road, new construction to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any members of the board that would like to make changes to the agenda as presented? Okay, can we please have approval of the motion, approval of the agenda with the modifications made by Ms. Mittner?
I move the board to approve the agenda of tonight's meeting, Wednesday, November 17, 2021, with Ms. Misner's modifications.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We now move on to approval of the minutes from the October 26th meeting. Do we have any changes to the minutes as presented? Seeing none, can we please have a motion to approve?
I move the board to approve the meeting minutes from October 26, 2021.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We now move on to report of the Historic Preservation Planner.
Good evening, Frederique Mettner, City Historic Preservation Planner. Just wanted to let the board know that since our last meeting, or your last meeting, staff has reviewed 116 level 1 applications and 64 zoning reviews. And just a quick reminder that our next board meeting will also be on a Wednesday, December 15th. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to remarks by the chairperson. The matters before us are quasi-judicial in nature, which means we base our decisions on competent, substantial evidence that comes before us. We ask you to please keep that in mind when making your comments. For each case, the applicant will have an opportunity to make a 10-minute presentation, 15 minutes if there's a demolition. Then staff will give their report, which will then be followed by public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. If there is public comment, the applicant will have the opportunity for a rebuttal. After the rebuttal, we will enter into executive session where we will make our decision. To lead into this, we need to let you all know if we've had any conversations outside of this meeting. So we will now discuss a declaration of ex parte communications.
I have had no ex parte communications.
Gabe Jaslowski, I discussed with Ms. Midner tonight's cases, but I can make my own decisions based on the evidence presented.
Amanda Schuyler, I spoke with Ms. Mittner about the cases on tonight's agenda, but I can base my decisions on the evidence presented.
Dan Pickney, no ex parte communications.
Ken Breslauer, no ex parte communication.
Reginald Stambaugh, no ex parte communications.
Thank you. We now move on to the public comment portion of our meeting. If you are here to speak on an item that is not on the agenda this evening, now is the time to do so. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on an item not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will now swear in our speakers. If you plan on speaking or think you may speak, please rise and raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 cases on the consent agenda this evening. Can we please have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move the board to approve consent cases number 21-90 in 130 Greenwood Drive, and 21-53C on 3815 Eastview Avenue.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. If you are the applicant for 130 Greenwood Drive or 3815 Eastview Avenue, your case has been approved. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, not to overstep my bounds, but just in case someone walked in late, could we announce the items that were continued?
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, so for the items that have been continued are 2415 South Flagler Drive, that has been continued, 4008 Greenwood Avenue, 4010 Greenwood Avenue, 306 Plymouth Road, and 550 Northwood Road. All of those cases have been continued to the December meeting. We now move on to new business with case number 21-88, 1700 Florida Avenue.
Do I come up front?
Yeah,
I'm the first time.
yeah, either podium is fine. Yeah, or this one, whatever you want.
Hello, everyone. I'm coming here tonight with a couple things. Frederick, should I speak about the stucco, or should I keep it?
Go for all of it, yeah.
So we've been remodeling our home in Grandview Heights since about March. We've had some complications during that time in regards to leaks. And coming here tonight for actually about windows, but Frederick saw our house on Friday, which we just did a stucco job to an emergency fix for a lot of those leaks coming in. So on October 9th, we discovered essentially, and I have a video of it, that our entire inside had a lot of leaks coming into the house. And that's mainly because we have a lot of the drywall off. And we've been remodeling ever since with permits pretty much for everything. And we decided and took upon ourselves, after talking to our GC, that to go ahead and stucco our house. So the photos you'll see, and I do have a USB that I can provide the photos of, show our house that has been finished as stucco. On Friday, Frederick came over to take some pictures of the house and basically informed us that we were supposed to permit the stucco job, which in retrospect makes complete sense given that we're in a historic zone. So coming in here tonight to partly talk about the window application that I have, but also acknowledge the stucco that we did do and see where we can go from here and see if we can get board's approval and or what we have to do to fix the stucco and get their approval, quite frankly, without wiping ourselves out. So we're open to discussion on that, as well as, should I go ahead and start with the pictures for that, Frederick?
Sure.
Okay, I do have a USB that I can go ahead and show some pictures of what we did do.
Let me load it, or you want to do it?
Well, you may have to help me here and there. Let's see where it goes. Okay, bear with me for a second. So this just shows, some of the permits that we've taken so far. Again, we started since March, and so far we've done about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 10 permits to our close. So, it certainly isn't something that we were trying to hide or anything like that. This is the video as of October 9th of our house. Let's see if this goes through. This is also right above the social bath door that's going to be removed. Hold on, you can see it's pretty wet. Let me go here. I think this shows a little bit more of the house. Hey Eli, so it just had a pretty good rain, so we're looking to talk to it. Okay, so hold on one second. I should be able to flip the video if you guys bear with me for a second. Maybe not. Well, so here you can see sort of what was happening, and I realize you have no reference as to where this is, but this is in the entry. You can see a lot of water percolating through into the house from there. And I'm going to do my best to sort of qualify sort of where the leaks are. You can see some of the water coming in next to where the window is as well, which is also why we're talking about the windows tonight. You can see a lot of the water coming in here. So for the past 9 months, we actually thought that this was the roof. We had a tough run-in with our roofer, an unfortunate one. Finally, it's solved, and we got to the point where, okay, we have a lot of the roof issues done that we did get permits to, and our contractor said it's not the roof, it's got to be the stucco, which is why we did, in fact, do the stucco premature and without permit. So I want to show what the house does look like. I don't know if I have a picture of it, actually. Frederic, did you take the picture?
I did it in my presentation.
And where's your presentation, if you don't mind? Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, there it is. So as you can see, this is the stucco that we did do right here. We tried our best to match what was there before, where GC basically said, hey, you know, we'll do the best we can, but what was there, the paint is old and the stucco has not been done recently. So I'm coming here, you know, trying to figure out what my next steps are. Of course, the stucco is going to cure, and it's been about 8 days. So we do have to do a primer coat and paint it pretty soon. So I was hoping I can get some sort of direction as to what the historic board would like us to do. So that's what it looks like as of now. The next thing, should I go ahead and jump into the next thing, or how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, this is your opportunity to make your request to them.
Sorry, first timer. I wish I saw someone else go first.
So do you want to go back to yours?
Let's go back to the first thing. Let's go back to the stucco and talk about that.
Just
Okay.
that one?
Yeah.
Yep.
So is that something we can start talking about as to what expectations are of us from here, and how we can, you know, keep the historic board, you know, happy and doing it? I mean, of course, we love this area and we're doing the best we can in what we've done. So we'd love to get just a little bit of direction.
Well, I think we'd like you to finish your presentation and also discuss the windows, and then we can hear staff's presentation, and then we can circle back to you and
Okay.
discuss what direction we think might be best.
Yeah, that would be fine. So let me go ahead and go back to the windows then. Wow, it's the removable disc. Okay, so we're coming here also, and this was our original plan. We're doing the windows outside of the two front, and we already went through, of course, the permitting process, and those will be installed within the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, as you can see, a lot of the leaks coming through, and it is because they are the wood windows, and it is something that we do want to do to match the impact windows we're putting in around the house. So our application is to change the two front windows, which, here we go, which are right here and here, as well as do the two front windows around the fireplace, but instead of a static window, which is what it is now, it can't open, we would like to change that to a single hung. And we'd like to do that just to be able to get air in. And I do have the window plan, which shows what the single hung looks like. The rest of the house is, of course, casement. That will go. Give me a second. There it goes. Nope, not that. Here we go. Okay. So this is the plan. We currently have the transom right here on elevation 2, right here. So that's already there. So that will also be impact, as well as this is the casement window that we'll be replacing the front with. So it will still have the transom on top, as well as the casement on the bottom. As for the single hung, this is the elevation of what that looks like. So it still has the same grid. It'll just allow some of the air to come through. And so we were coming in for those two changes, as well as a change to get approved to convert the door. I'm sorry for so many things, but convert the door into a rounded door should we choose. As of now, you can see it's a squared off door, and we're looking to convert it to the rounded door. which is, I think, right here. And that is our application.
Thank you. Do we have questions of the applicant?
The windows you proposed, they have a bronze finish?
Dark bronze finish,
Yeah.
that's correct.
So what is the condition of the existing windows?
The existing windows, the wood
Could you
itself-
please speak into the microphone?
Oh, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
The wood itself is actually in good condition of the windows, but the actual casement outside as well as the wood around the windows itself is pretty rotted. So even during the next 4 months, if we were to get approved, we probably would have to take those windows down, put a new piece of wood to make sure it does not continue to leak. So that is, one of the main concerns here is just making sure we have a watertight home. It's been quite the battle for the past, 9 months going through this.
So these windows are leaking because the frame and the seal is rotted?
Yes. So I can show you on that video a little bit further. Let me see if it is clear enough for it to come through. Hold on. So you can see around, I know it's not really that great of a video, but you can see around the windows where the water percolates in. But that's just one small example of many where the water was coming in. And you can see it by the former paper that was there that had quite a few leaks. So this is another example of the water seeping in through the window frame, essentially.
And this is not an issue where the caulk has been deteriorated over time?
The wood frame itself around the windows, yes, and as well as I would think it's the jamb, as well is a little bit rotted. There's some cracks in the glass, but it's actually, the actual casement window itself is in decent condition. I'm sorry, did that answer your question? I don't know if that was clear.
It almost seems like the window is in good shape and the exterior pieces could be replaced and the window could be caulked.
It potentially could be, but we're having these issues and we are doing impact windows throughout the whole house, which is why we are looking to, of course, we're replacing it with like, that's our proposal. But it is something that we would like to do to have sort of that, we know, watertight and not have wood in the house anymore. As you can see, we're a little sensitive towards that, but you're absolutely right. The actual casement itself is in really good condition.
Did you look into a casement option for the windows flanking the fireplace?
We didn't look into casement because right now it is static. But we did not look into casement.
Is that an option you'd consider?
Do they do? I've never seen an elevation for something like that. I imagine they would.
Yes.
It is something that we can look into.
Great. Great. Any further questions of the applicant?
So the report from staff has a condition of approval. There are 3 of them. So did you read them and are you in agreement to that or no? Because one of the conditions is that all windows shall match the functioning of existing windows. So if you have a casement, you need to replace it with a casement and so forth. But I think that you are requesting now to change one of the fixed windows with a single hung window.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
So you would be okay if it was a condition that we allowed you to make it a functional window, but that it would be a casement instead of the single hung that you're proposing?
I would be okay with that.
Okay, great. It would just, I think, have a more similar profile to the existing.
Sure. Basically one block instead of being
Yes,
split.
yes.
Understood.
Any further questions of the applicant? Thank you. Ms. Mittner?
Frederique Mittner, presenting case 21-88 for alterations at 1700 Florida Avenue. This is a contributing property, and the Grandview Heights Historic District on the east side of Florida Avenue. It's a unique street with a median. This is a image on the left is of the house when it was on the market, and then the image on the right was taken on Friday. As the applicant already explained, they did re-stucco it. It does, my concern is not so much that it's new stucco, which of course, generally that's a concern, but I understand the leaking. However, the texture and pattern is different from what was there originally. But the original request this evening was just for windows and the modification of the door. I have to tell the board and the applicant that I misunderstood their door request. I didn't realize it was in the existing opening. I thought they were bringing it out front towards the arch. So having reviewed, I'm sorry, somehow I think I lost a slide in here somewhere. Yep. The slide, it was actually up earlier, but it must have disappeared. I had an image of those two front-facing windows. The two windows we're recommending to be casement, and then the arch door. One of the things that I've already mentioned to the applicant, I'm concerned about the arch door having product approvals. So even if it passes historic, just getting the permitting for it. So I apologize, that slide seems to have been deleted. So again, we are recommending approval with the condition that the windows match the style and our clear glass on the front elevation matching the style, meaning the function of the windows, the casements. We believe those were probably casements at one point. Perhaps they just don't function anymore and are now fixed. But either way, a casement would be more appropriate. And that the arch of the door not change on its existing location. Again, we thought that was being brought up front.
What was the last point that you made about, so you're okay with the arch door or you're not okay with the arch door?
Not replacing the existing square door. I know I've had conversations with the applicant that the existing door is very narrow. I think having wider would be acceptable, but it is a square top. Again, it was my understanding they wanted to bring that forward, and that is my mistake.
And what is your recommendation on the stucco? Is that pattern easily removed?
I don't know if it can be removed as much as corrected,
Well,
but it should
stuccoed
definitely be
over.
corrected to be in keeping with what it was before. So these are the windows. I'll just use the applicant's photos for the side to be casements, and then that window, and then the two front that face the street. Typically, we like to see the restoration and retention of historic wood windows that face the street. That's why the applicant is in front of you this evening. However, for these two, they found a product that's very similar in proportion, and so we think in this situation, it's an acceptable replacement.
Any further questions of staff?
Okay, could you just repeat that? So we're agreeing that they could replace the street-facing windows?
Yes, so my recommendation to the board is okay on window replacement, just as long as the function matches the original, or at least even if it was fixed, that it becomes casement. However, that the door does not become arched in the original square opening. And the stucco is corrected.
Okay, thank you.
Could you please, I believe the slide you had on the recommendations for approval or the conditions is different from the one we have in our packet. Could you
the
put
one in
that
your
back
packet
up?
is probably more thorough.
So we should go off of the one,
In the packet, please, yes,
Okay.
thank you.
okay, and then add a fourth condition about keeping the original shape of
Yes.
the front door opening
Please.
and correct the stucco pattern.
Yes, that was an
Okay.
addition, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions of staff? And to the applicant, are you amenable to those additional conditions?
Correcting the stucco means that we have to redo the entire job. And so that's quite the burden. But, you know, if there's more that I could do in regards to if it were the front facade, maybe that's something we can do. But I'd have a hard time redoing the entire stucco job, to be candid. If there could be any consideration to that, I would really appreciate it. And I do understand we're in a historic zone and all that. Our GC did not try to go that far off from what was there in the neighborhood. And so I understand you guys need to do what you need to do, but I would like to be some consideration paid to that, because in speaking to the GC, we did get another bid to work with what's there, and it's not quite possible. So that's my only comment as of now.
Okay, I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
We'll see what the rest of the board thinks, but I think that's a reasonable compromise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public that wish to comment on this case? Yes.
I'm obviously the wife, so I am biased, but I just wanted to come up here and say that thank you, first of all, for being willing to work with us. Just wanted to, highlight that even though that's not relevant to this, we do have a love for historic zone. As it can be seen with our permits, we permit every single item. And we've worked with Frederic. We fall on our sword, in retrospect. It was a mistake. We panicked. Water was sipping through. And as my husband just said, we want to find a way where we continue to work with historic without being wiped out in the process. We put every single penny we have towards this home and are hoping to move in soon. That's one thing. And in regards to windows, we're more than willing to collaborate with historic and continue in the same function of custom for the casement windows. We will get back to on the fireplace because, as you all know, custom windows get very expensive. And as I said, we have to obviously prioritize, but all I wanted to say is we are here with the best intentions to collaborate. We're not trying to go behind anyone's back. I realize that's how it may look, but it's certainly not that way. And I think the fact that we permitted every item speaks volumes to that. So that's all I have to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment?
Can I say something? Evening, Frederic. How are you? I'm Lisa Mastronardi. I'm the next door neighbor. And I'd just like to say I always appreciate Frederic looking after our historic, but this house is sat empty
May I interrupt for just a moment? I believe she had walked in and has not been
Could you
sworn.
please be sworn in? Raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
Yeah,
truth?
gotta get a name.
State your name for the record, please.
So
And can
what
you-
I'd like to say
Can you
is
please
that-
state your name for the record,
Oh,
ma'am?
sorry, Lisa Mastronardi. 1704.
Okay, and you'll need to fill out a card before you leave, please.
Oh, really?
Yes, but that's okay.
I was going to run out. So I'd just like to say that this young couple, I'm thrilled they're moving in. This house has sat vacant for 2.5 years. I've had vagrants, I've had all kinds of stuff, we've had crime. So please, if you can work with them.
Thank you. We're happy to do so. Seeing there's no further public comment, you do have an opportunity to rebuttal, but I don't think anyone was speaking against your case. It seemed everyone was in favor, but you're welcome to it if you'd like. And we'll now go into executive session. So it seems to me that we've, I think, come to a compromise about the stucco and the fixed windows. They're amenable to them becoming casement and to keeping the original shape of the front door opening. So with that, if someone would like to make a motion, unless there's any further discussion.
I'm sorry, I just have a question in terms of, in the packet, it says that it does not fully comply with the historic standards. So do we alter that in the motion or not?
No, I think that's just saying as proposed, it does not further comply. It's that these conditions will bring it into further compliance.
Okay.
I think, Gabe, you were about to make the motion.
Okay, sorry, Gabe.
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 21-88 for alterations, window replacement, in accordance with standards 9 and 10, I believe, 6 and 9, as set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of Exterior Standards for Rehabilitation, specifically standards 6 and 9, the additional compatibility criteria set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The conditions include the following. 1, all windows shall match function of existing casement equals casement. 2, all lights shall have an external dimensional mounting matching the existing windows. 3, all windows shall be sized to fit the window frame, match the location of the original windows within the window frame. Street-facing glass shall be clear, and non-street facing glass shall be clear or clear with low E. 4, entry door shall be replaced with a square door similar to the existing one, not round. 5, the front facade of the house needs to be restucco for the finish to match as close as possible the original stucco finish. Missing something? I think that there is one more, 6, that the fixed window shall be replaced with a casement window, but not with a single hung window.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Your case has been approved. Good luck with your project. Please use Ms. Mittner. She's a wonderful resource and is here to help you along the way in any way she can. Thank you very much. Thank you. Moving on to case number 21-91, 101 Westminster Road.
Hello, my name is Howard Simkoff, and I work for the contractor. And we are proposing to replace the windows in this house with impact windows, and they will be pretty much matching what you will see there not right now, except they'll be impact windows. We maintain the grid patterns, and it will all have clear glass. The homeowner has a bunch of windows there that are beyond repair, and they want impact windows. It's a multi-story building, and they are senior citizens and can't be putting up panels in an emergency. And we would like to do the job and make it look good. We will maintain the look of the house, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant? We can also circle back to him after staff's presentation. Okay, thank you. Ms. Mittner.
Frederic Mittner presenting case 21-91 for alterations at 101 Westminster Road. The subject property is located at a prominent corner in the Prospect Park / Southland Park Historic District at the corner of Washington Road and Westminster Road. As the applicant just mentioned, it is a multi-story house with that third-story tower element, and it's actually had window alterations over the years. Some are original wood, some have been replaced for impact. This middle window here at this balcony is actually a prairie style, and in your packet you have a lot of images that the applicant supplied of these windows. So given its prominent location, the quantity of windows that need to be replaced, staff has reviewed the application. They are consistent with what was there historically and brings the building actually into greater compliance. They will be bronze windows with clear glass, dimensional muntins, and therefore, because of the existing condition of mixed, the intensity of the windows and to install those, we do believe it meets Secretary Interior Standards 6 and 9, and the proposed replacements meet our compatibility standards. So staff is recommending approval that, again, the windows match the style that is presented and that there is clear glass on the 2 street-facing elevations. Thank you.
Questions of staff? Okay, thank you. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll enter into executive session. Ms. Mittner, are the conditions the same as, I'm seeing all windows, it looks similar to the previous case in terms of the 3 conditions. Are those the conditions you'd like read as part of the motion?
If you could enter them into the record, however, some of those have already been established through the submittal.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Would someone like to make a motion? Or we could discuss.
I'll go ahead. I'll move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 21-91, alterations in accordance with the standards 6 and 9 as set forth in section 94-49 of the city zoning land development regulations. Motions based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes common substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance. The Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach. Secretary of the Interior stands for rehabilitation, specifically standards 6 and 9. And the conditions include the following. To bring the project into further compliance with 6 and 9, all windows shall match function of existing casement equals casement. All lights shall have an external dimension muntin matching the existing windows. All windows shall be sized to fit the window frame, match the location of the original windows within the window frame. Street-facing glass shall be clear, and non-street-facing glass shall be clear with low E.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Your motion carries. Your case has been approved. Thank you. Our next case is case number 21-92, 442 28th Street.
Hi, my name is Aaron Mears. I'm with Lifetime Exteriors. I was contracted to replace the windows for our customer's house. We were denied approval for the two openings that are on the second floor of the home that face the street. The windows are inoperable. They don't work. There are some minor leaking issues. What we would like to do is replace the windows to match the existing size, color, and grid patterns that's on the house now. They are an elderly couple. They cannot get up to put hurricane protection over the windows. We're not going to be affecting the exterior of the wood on the frames of the house at all. I do have pictures here with me to, that you can see on other historical houses that you can see to show that it's going to match the existing windows that we have there. And that's what we're trying to do.
Okay, thank you. And are those printed images, or
They're printed, yes.
would you like to pass them to the board?
This is the existing house, and this is the house that we just recently done, so you can see the decays.
While we review these, we'll have Ms. Mittner start her presentation, and then we'll circle back to you if you have any questions. Thank you.
Frederic Mittner, presenting case 21-92 for alterations at 442 28th Street. Subject property is also a corner lot in the Old Northwood Historic District. As you can see, it's the southeast corner of 28th and Spruce Avenue. This is an image from that corner of this two-story contributing home. The request is for windows and doors. I do need to make a clarification from what the applicant stated, which is nothing has been approved and nothing has been denied on this case. They came in for a building permit to replace all windows, and the staff recommendation this evening is that the two sets of paired windows in the front be retained on the second floor. So nothing has been approved or denied at this point. It's all in front of you. And the windows, so again, it is a wholesale replacement of what's existing, and we are proposing that these two paired windows on the front be retained because it is a very pedestrian-oriented neighborhood. It is a very visible elevation. I've had conversations in the past with the owner. I have not heard from the owner recently. We did send both the applicant and the owner the staff report. And so because they appear to be in good condition, there is actually, except for this enclosed front porch, there's all original windows here. There have not been alterations over the years. So we're not aware of the deterioration on these four, nor, and again, they're highly visible. So staff's recommending replacement of the quantity of windows with these two sets of pairs to be retained, to be consistent with Secretary of Interior Standards 6 and 9. So again, that the four or two pairs, however you want to categorize it, second floor street-facing windows on 28th Street be retained. Thank you.
Are the replacement windows proposed for the second floor, are they 3/1?
No, they're proposing 6/1s.
Okay. Was there a discussion had if they were?
We have not been able to get in touch with the applicant, just via email.
Okay, thank
But
you.
they should certainly match the pattern that's there.
Is there any report regarding the condition of all the windows in the house, or no?
I'm sorry?
Is there any report about the condition
No.
of the windows?
No.
Any further questions of staff? I'd like to ask a question of the applicant, please. What is the reasoning behind proposing a 6/1 window to replace a 3/1 window?
The pictures, actually, I have the exact grid patterns in my folder. The ones I was showing you were just sample photos of what the exterior of the wood was going to look like, to show that the windows weren't going to be molded together with aluminum, that the exterior is going to look exactly the same. I do in my packet have the exact grid patterns if you'd like to see those. We're not changing the grid patterns at all.
This was actually part of the contract that was part of the submittal. This image, the 6/1.
What's that? I'm sorry?
The 6/1 image on this PowerPoint here
Yes.
was part of the contract submittal you gave, or that you, I don't know you individually, but your firm supplied to the city as part of the request.
Yes, and we're matching the existing grad pattern going up there.
Okay, well, it
I
seems
have a
that,
photo of the windows in my packet as well, the exact windows that we're using.
well, it seems what was submitted to the city as far as paperwork does not reflect that that is your intention to replace them with 3/1. Is that something that you and your client would be amenable to?
Yes,
Okay, so if we made that a condition of approval,
okay,
you would be okay with that?
yes.
Okay. Do you have any further questions of the applicant?
Yeah, I mean, why is the reason of replacing all these windows? I mean, are they in bad condition? Because all these are original windows, right?
Well, we're looking to change them from non-impact to impact for security reasons, to protect his home and his family.
So are you amenable to to keep the forefront facing windows to comply with the staff report?
I'm sorry, what was that?
So, I mean, are you okay if we put it as a condition of approval to keep the forefront facing windows?
To keep them the way they are? The grid pattern, I'm not understanding, I'm sorry.
So staff, as a condition of approval, staff is recommending that the 4 windows on the second floor of the street-facing facade remain and are not replaced.
That's gonna affect the integrity of doing the rest of the house for impact windows. Your house is only as strong as your weakest point, so if we put impact windows throughout the entire house and one glass were to break, you just spent thousands of dollars on something that's not gonna protect your home. They do not have the ability to get on ladders and put up panels or some type of screening on their house, so that would not work for my customer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, this is a demand in Historic District that we ask of everybody, that the front-facing windows, if they're in good shape, that be retained.
I understand completely.
Any further questions of the applicant? Okay, thank you. Do we have any members of the public that wish to comment on this case? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into executive session. Would anyone like to opine?
Well, it just seems to me, as far as staff recommendations are concerned, if the applicant is not willing to retain those second-story windows, I believe that the application should be denied.
My feeling is that we go ahead and I can make a motion to approve with staff recommendations, and if they feel as if they can't comply, then the owner could come back and make a request for a modification of the approval. But at this time, I don't see any reason to move away from staff's recommendation.
You know, I agree, and I think that allowing to replace 26 perfectly functioning historic windows is already, too much, in my opinion. So if we ask to keep the 4 in the front, that should be okay, right? So that should be fair. I understand what they are saying, but there should be other means to protect the house and the windows. We've done that all, for years.
Okay. Any further discussion, or would you like to proceed with your motion?
I mean, would the applicant understand that?
Well, I think that the gentleman here can communicate
Yeah.
what happened, and of course, they're welcome to reach out to Ms. Mittner.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve with the conditions as staff presented.
So if you would just add the condition of the 3/1, please.
I'm having a hard time hearing.
The 3/1.
Well, I think the 3/1 are the ones on the second floor, so if we're asking them to retain them, then that's not an issue. Is that correct, Ms. Mittner?
There's actually some on the side that are 3/1.
Oh, there are, okay.
And
So-
again, the applicant, like this one right here in the middle, the applicant submitted all 6/1s.
Okay, So that, I guess you're correct, then the condition would be that the light pattern, where it is 3/1, is,
You want to go ahead and make that motion, because might be clearer when you make it.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 21-92 for alterations window replacement in accordance with standards 6 and 9 as set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and of safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, specifically Standards 6 and 9, the additional compatibility criteria set forth in Section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The conditions include the following. 1, the four front-facing windows on the second floor of the 28th Street elevation shall be repaired and retained. 2, all windows shall match function of existing, casement equal casement. 3, all lights shall have an external dimension in mountain matching the existing windows. 4, all windows shall be sized to fit the window frame, match the location of the original windows within the window frame. Street-facing glass shall be clear, and non-street-facing glass shall be clear or clear with low E. 5th, all the windows shall have a light pattern to match the existing windows.
do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Your motion carries. Your case was approved. Ms. Mittner is happy to help you communicate with your client the conditions of the approval. Thank you. Moving on to case number 21-93, 519 Canoga Drive.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to hear my case. I'm William Baker, and my wife Pam Weiner and I bought the house in 2017.
Mr. Baker, I apologize. Mr. Baker, I apologize. Several people walked in after we started. Were you, sir?
Oh,
Sir,
I'm
sir,
sorry.
were you sworn in?
Peter was here when we were
Okay,
sworn
so
in.
you were both sworn in.
Yep.
I apologize. I needed to make sure.
And Peter's my contractor, Peter Simpson, and he's here in case there are questions that I cannot answer. So we bought the property in 2017. Since we bought the property, we've been making steady improvements, all with City of West Palm Beach permits. The property consists of a rectangular house and a square garage. In Ms. Mittner's staff report, she described it as vernacular, and I was excited that there was a term for this type of house, and then I looked it up, and it means ordinary or functional. So it's not the type of house that you expect to see when you think of Flamingo Park Historic District. Our request to you tonight is to replace all of the siding on the house and garage with hardy board cement siding, as well as to add 2 windows to the bathrooms and replace the garage windows and door with impact rated. I don't think there's any issues with the windows or door, so I'm going to just focus on the siding. The house is currently sided with a mishmash of materials of at least 4 different styles throughout the property. There's horizontal siding of 2 different varieties and vertical striped panels of different varieties. Some of the siding appears to be made of a particle board type material, and there's damage to the siding throughout and on every side of the house and garage. The damage includes actively rotting wood, rotten wood patched with some kind of filler material, areas that were cut out and patched back in place with a dissimilar type of panel, and the panels on the garage are detaching from the garage. It's also obvious that in the past, the house was painted over peeling paint that gives it a rough, uneven finish. So allowing us to reside the whole house and garage will give the property a uniform look, which I think would more closely resemble how it looked in 1947 when it was built. We would match as closely as possible the existing style of the front of the house throughout the property. And we'd also like to use hardy board cement planks for the siding. Once the siding is in place and painted, it will look the same as if it was wood. This material will be easier to obtain than wood siding, which is currently very rare, and will be more durable moving forward. The use of hardy board in historic neighborhoods is not without precedent. We were able to find a house at 195 Dyer in the city's permit database that was approved to use hardy board by the Historic Preservation Board in 2020. And currently, the house right across the street from me at 516 Canoga is replacing all of their siding with hardy board, and they have permits from the city to do all that work. So again, thank you for your time, and I respectfully ask that you consider my request over your staff's recommendation. I don't think patching portions of the siding and replacing others is practical, and it may lead to more problems in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant?
Are you familiar with the condition of this application for approval? And do you agree with it?
I would like to replace all of the siding. The conditions for approval are to retain the front and I think the facades on the side. Those areas all have rotten wood in them, so we would have to somehow replace the rotting areas. I just don't think that that's really practical, and I think it might induce or cause more problems in the future by creating more seams. So I'd like to replace all of the siding.
And I just wanted to make a point about your comment on the style vernacular. So frame vernacular, it doesn't mean it's any lesser than any other houses in your neighborhood. It really just means it didn't follow a particular architectural style, and that it's reflective of the construction methods of local craftsmen and the local materials available. And so the fact that it is a frame vernacular building, the wood siding is a very important character defining feature, and that's why staff is recommending that that material specifically and that authenticity be maintained for the street facing facade.
Okay. I was just kind of trying to be a little funny there too.
Well, I'm just saying you should be proud of your home.
Sure.
Regardless of how it's categorized.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your stewardship and all of the time and effort you'd put into it since you purchased it in 2017.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions, further questions of the applicant, or are we okay to go into the staff report? Okay, thank you, Ms. Mittner.
Frederic Mittner presenting case 21-93 for alterations at 519 Canoga Drive. The subject property is on the north side of Canoga Drive, and the applicant is correct that the house across the street is replacing their siding with hardy board. The difference there is that it was originally asbestos wood and wood siding that the board approved to have replaced with wood siding about 15 to 20 years ago. And so that second set of wood had failed. And again, the original photos show wood and asbestos, so that's where the hardy board has come in. So there is a distinction, but he is correct. It is a smooth hardy board being installed across the street. But the applicant's home, they have taken great care of it and made some significant improvements, including windows, since they purchased it. And the request, as you heard, is alterations for siding, addition of 2 windows, and a garage door and windows in the back. So there's 2 structures on site, and they are correct. There is kind of a hodgepodge as you move towards the back of the house. You have a lot of T111 siding, but the front elevation, and as it returns to about half way down both the east and west elevations, still retains its original wood siding. And so this is where they'd like to add the 2 bathroom windows. Again, you can see the siding. The differentiation in color is because of prior paint applications that were not done with the proper prep. However, the wood itself may need, a piece here or there repaired or replaced. However, after having conducted a site visit, staff does not believe there's a need for a holistic replacement on the primary structure. But of course, we're fully supportive of the smooth hardy board going on the garage structure, the windows and doors being amended, but that the applicant does retain the front elevation, and approximately halfway there's a delineating mark on the sides to be consistent with the compatibility standards as well as Secretary Interior Standards 6 and 9. So again, approval that the front portion remains the existing siding, and as it returns to approximately halfway, it changes. So this one is approximately here. The other side, there's another change in texture to have that vertical. There's a vertical separation, that it be retained. And the applicant could reuse siding off the back if they need to patch any of it on the sides as well.
Thank you. Questions of staff? Okay, seeing none. Do we have any public comment on this case?
Hi, my name is Peter. I'm the contractor on the job. I went over the project with Ms. Smitner and...
Excuse me, Peter, what was your full name, please?
Peter Simpson.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. And to patch the front, as she had suggested, is a lot more work than would be worth. I mean, you literally have to go through and try to patch every little section that was missing, because my client would like the house to look clean and neat and have a very, clean finish. And that's not really possible at all with the way the siding looks now. And you can see from the picture, oh, it's not up there. Even on the side of the house, all those spots that you see are where years of paint has peeled off, and so now you have these gouges. Some of those spots are a little rotten here and there, and it was explained, and she said we could change those pieces. But to change those pieces would mean I'd have to lift up the one before it to try to get to it, and I don't really believe that this wood is going to come up and be able to replace pieces, piece by piece. It just doesn't make sense to try to do that. And also, I've also talked to the suppliers, and the wood to match this is very hard to come by right now. And if I do get it, it's going to be a long wait time, and the cost is going to be astronomical. So those are a couple other things to see if we could do everything in one shot, in one format, instead of trying to piecemeal it. There's not enough wood on the back of the house to patch everything that we have on the front of the house. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. And do you have additional photographs to illustrate the damage and the wood rot? Because I can see that there are areas that are pointed out, but specifically for the front elevation, I don't know if we have sufficient information to determine that these are beyond repair and that they cannot be.
Well, the gouges in the wood is what I'm referring to, trying to patch those. I'd have to basically try to peel it, wood filler it, that kind of thing. Underneath, the windows are damaged, and those are some that Ms. Smitner said I could replace. Along the bottom of the house, in a lot of places where water was splashed back up, has a lot of rot there also. But to try to get a finish on the house that's going to look clean and neat, it's impossible with what we have here. A good representation of this is where you see on the siding, on the right-hand picture, all those little spots are little gouges in that wood. Whether it be from paint or from when the paint peeled off and it started to deteriorate a little bit, those are actual divots in the siding. So it's it's cost prohibitive to try to go and sit there and try to patch everything. It's gonna cost him more in labor to try to go through and do that to get a finish that my client would like.
But so these are concerns that are aesthetic in nature rather than functional or structural?
Some of it is functional because, like I said, some of it is rotten, and if I try to take it off, it's gonna create a different problem. It's not, I can't see, okay, in the back, I had lifted up some of it, and the wood starts to break. And so although it may look perfect, and, you know, the integrity is good now, I think once I start moving it, it's just gonna start opening up other things. I mean, this house was built 75 years ago, and a lot of this wood, I believe, especially on the front, is original.
And it's most likely Dade County pine, do you think, Ms. Mittner, or do you think it might be something else?
I would think pine or cedar, cypress, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the only other thing that, if he can find enough, is if it's just the front elevation. That would be one other compromise, because again, it does run down the sides. But yeah, it is the original siding.
And have we seen projects where they've been able to restore the original siding?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so that's something perhaps that can be a discussion with Ms. Mittner about maybe some of the practices that have been used by other projects in the past?
Well, I think the applicant's certainly capable of doing it. I think it's just more a concern of cost and the
Okay.
final finish.
Right.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any, we'll go into executive session.
Your compromise seems reasonable in terms of allowing him to use hardy board on the side, and perhaps there would be wood there in better condition that, you know, entire strips could be replaced, or, you know, if he's concerned about aesthetics, you know, having a million seams or something like that, you could take larger pieces out of there and replace the front, if he's willing to go along with that.
So you're saying you're in favor of staff's condition?
Pardon me?
You're saying you're in favor of staff's condition?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I think that he was saying in favor of the recommendation, but only the front facade, right?
That's correct. That was the chairperson's suggestion.
I believe it was Ms. Mittner's, but thank you for giving me
Oh, I'm
credit
sorry.
for her,
Okay.
her good idea. Yeah, okay, so is there any further discussion? Would someone like to make a motion?
Ms. Mittner, is there, I mean, why is there a reason for the siding to stop at that point where it stops, the T111?
I think there were later additions, or perhaps rot, and they replaced it with a more inexpensive product at the time.
Because, well, I am thinking that if would it make sense not only to do the front, but also to try to return it a little bit, but now we will bring that joint up front, you know,
Right.
maybe to the first window.
Right behind that first window, yes, that
Like
makes
to
sense. So
return
there's
it
a
to
return.
the edge of the front window, of the side window.
Right. Yep.
Would you like to try a motion?
I can try. I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 21-93 for alterations, siding replacement, in accordance with standards 6 and 9, as set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards 6 and 9, the additional compatibility criteria set forth in section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The condition include the following: the front facade and the few feet on the sides, probably up to the side window on both sides, shall remain the original wood siding with repairs and limited replacement to match the original width and profile, utilizing first wood on side, then cedar or cypress to match.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Our next case is case number 21-94, 628 11th Street.
Sir, were you sworn in yet?
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
How you doing, everybody? My name's Rob Miller. I'm the managing member of Rosemary View Holdings, and I'm proposing a new construction duplex at the address 628 11th Street in the Northwest Historic District. It's a craftsman-style duplex, and I'll let staff present. They had a few comments that have been addressed, and should there be any others, I'm open to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Ann Hamilton, Historic Preservation Planner, presenting case number 2194, located at 628 11th Street. The property is a vacant lot located at 628 11th Street in the Northwest District. To the east, there's a vacant lot, and to the west, there's a multi-story multifamily building. Previously on the lot, there was a one-story house which was built in 1927 and demolished in 2008 due to neglect. The proposal is to build a one-story duplex on the property. In your packets, you'll see the applicant's original design, but they've gone ahead and made some changes to the plan since the packet was assembled to meet staff's recommendations. So this is the revised plan. Here's the roof plan, the original floor plan, the revised floor plan. In the design, both the north and south elevations are the same. And this is the revised version, which is more of a craftsman style to echo the building that was originally on the lot. Here are the new side elevations. And the proposed window and door elevations. And although this is the original design, this gives a view of the streetscape on the property. The revised designs meet all of the criteria for new construction, particularly 9 and 10, and staff is therefore recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you. And Anne, I didn't get to meet you at the last meeting, so welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Do you have any questions of staff?
And so all the previous conditions were addressed in this revised design.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no questions, thank you. Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak on this case? Okay, seeing none, we will go into executive session. It's always great to hear when an applicant works with staff ahead of time to meet all the conditions. So we're glad to hear that. So thank you. And with that, would someone like to make a motion?
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application 21-94 for new construction in accordance with the Secretary of Interior's standards for rehabilitation, particularly standards 6 and 9, as well as the additional compatibility criteria set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance, Section 94-49 of the City Zoning and Land Development Regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented, along with application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes competent, substantial evidence. Conditions that were initially imposed were taken care of before the application was presented for approval.
Just a point of order. You mentioned standards 6 and 9, and it's 9 and 10.
Oh, I'm sorry. I revised that. It'll be conditions 9 and 10.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Your case has been approved. Thank you. Our next case is 21-95, 800 Claremore Drive.
You raise your right hand to be sworn in, please.
I have not been sworn in, is that what you said? Yeah.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. State your name for the record, please.
Timothy Hullahan, I'm a local architect. I'm representing the property owner. I'll open it up to your questions. The only thing I want to point out is that in the condition of approval, I think Frederick agrees there's a third option, and we can move the carriage house to the principal structure setback, and then the 6 feet of separation isn't required. Am I correct on that? So we agree with the condition of approval. I just want to clarify that there's a third option.
And do you have a preference?
I believe that the property owner is leaning toward moving it to the principal setback, but that hasn't been decided yet. I'm not sure.
Okay. So would you prefer that that condition be that you work with staff to?
I think that's the intent.
Okay.
I think Frederick's comfortable with any of the three.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a presentation, or is there a presentation?
I do not. I'm happy to let Frederick show
Okay.
you the project and open it up to questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Mittner?
Frederick Mittner, presenting case 21-95 for an ad valorem pre-construction application for the contributing structure at 800 Claremore Drive. This is also a prominent corner lot in the Flamingo Park Historic District, and the house may seem familiar to some of you because it has been in front of you for multiple iterations over the years. It is a primary two-story contributing structure, and it does have a detached one-story accessory structure. It sits on a large lot, as you can see, relative to the other properties around it, and has a lot of green space available to it. These are the images. Again, it is a very visible property from Lake as well as from Claremore. It does currently have a front-facing two-car garage. In a previous approval from the board, this was actually replaced with the approval was granted for replacement of the garage door with a bay window here. What the applicant, this is a new owner of the property, and they have a different program in mind, which also includes a two-car garage. However, it would be separated from the main house, at least physically, and just connected with a flat covered walkway. There would be a one-story addition to the rear here with a lot of terraces connecting the existing structures on site. So this is the proposed first floor plan. It is a front-facing two-car garage, but it does sit 10 feet back from the plane of the room that projects the most to the north. The second floor, which does just have these 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. There's no modifications there, just additional roofing. And currently there's asphalt shingles, and then this is a low-slope standing seam metal roof that's proposed for the covered walkways. These are existing elevations on the top and proposed elevations on the bottom. So on the primary contributing structure, besides rehabilitation in general, the main change is to this pair of windows, matching the existing pattern of 6/6, and then a construction of a separated two-car garage, separated from the carriage existing accessory structure and the main house, but connected physically with a solid roof. These are the rear or south-facing elevations, and this is really where the biggest impact comes in. There is this, again, this connecting piece, some sloped roofs and terrace and patio area, and this contemporary addition to the rear. This is just a second floor pop-up for clear story windows to let light into the kitchen, but there is not habitable space up there. These are the east elevations, also street facing, so the existing primary structure and this one-story contemporary addition that is proposed. And again, this projecting piece here is for the clear story windows in the kitchen. The west elevation, that really wouldn't be visible because it is an interior, would be an interior lot line, but you can see some of that one-story flat addition, and again, this projecting piece here. Some additional graphics that were supplied by the applicant in terms of the visual impact of the proposal. And we did review it for the compatibility standards as well as standards 9, Secretary of Interior standards 9 and 10. We believe it does meet that. It's clearly differentiated from the existing colonial style structure. However, from a zoning perspective, the new garage addition needs to be separated from the existing contributing accessory structure by a minimum of 6 feet, and it can be achieved, as the applicant was stating, actually 3 ways. We just presented 2 options here: reduction in the garage, shifting of accessory structure towards the south, but it could also be accomplished by shifting it to the east. The reason we say shifting it is because the applicant is looking into raising that or lifting that accessory structure because it is very low due to flood concerns. And so it would bring that into alignment with the finished floor elevation of the primary structure. That would not be a visible impact to the street since it'd be behind that new garage. And again, it would aid it in not being subject to flooding. So once it's lifted, it could easily be shifted just a couple feet. And that's why we're saying shifting the existing contributing accessory structure. So this is, again, a zoning requirement to have that 6-foot separation. And I'll just go back to the site plan to show you, again, this building needs to be 6 feet from this building because this garage is physically connected to an existing primary structure, so it needs to meet primary structure setbacks. And for this to remain an accessory structure, there needs to be a 6-foot separation, or this building needs to meet primary structure setbacks. And it's many ways to solve the issue, but the applicant understands and is amenable to reach that objective one way or another. Thank you.
Questions of staff?
So that 10 feet additional setback from the garage portion is required also by zoning?
It is actually required, yes, through our zoning code, but specifically to historic districts. Nowhere else is that required in the city.
Thank you.
Ms. Mittner, could you speak to the compatibility of the architectural style chosen for the addition to the existing?
It's not. It's very contemporary. However, it's clearly differentiated from the historic piece. They have modified these window openings to have more of a vertical proportion, have a rhythm to them, just like the rhythm exists on the colonial windows in the primary structure, but it's clearly a differentiated piece.
Are there any precedents for this? Because I don't know if I've seen this before in front of this board.
Well, we're always looking for additions to be differentiated from the existing. I'm not familiar of a contemporary addition to a colonial structure in West Palm Beach.
And typically, we advocate for the size of the window openings to be drawn from the original structure. Is that correct? And the materials?
Well, they don't need to be identical. I think that's part of the differentiation piece. So again, they are vertically oriented. They actually originally had horizontally oriented windows. But they could, they could certainly perhaps add a grid pattern. I think there's none there now. I think the ratio of the windows, even though they're much smaller, it is consistent.
And do you have any concerns about how visual the pop-up is from the street?
I would say that's probably the most concerning element because it's such a sharp angle on the lake side, as well as, I think there was another graphic. Well, you won't really see this one, but I think it illustrates that it is such an extreme slope here. 13. So, it's lower, but I think that of all the elements introduced, that would be the one that is least compatible.
Okay. Any further questions of staff?
The windows in the front facade in the main house are the same proportion of existing windows? They are being replaced with new windows, same proportion?
Yes.
Any questions of the applicant now that we've seen the presentation? Thank you, Ms. Mittner.
How the design architect, I guess, and the owner feel about that pole on the roof, because also when I saw the application, that was the first thing that came to my eye, right? That my eye caught that doesn't look.
The Lake Avenue elevation?
Yeah, the north elevation, the proposed north elevation, the pop-up in the kitchen.
That one there?
Yeah, but from the other side, when you look at it from the north side.
That one?
No. That one.
What we did there is we lowered the slope of the raised roof over the kitchen to match at 5 and 12, and the same roofing material, the architectural dimensional asphalt shingles, will be on that. So the overall goal was to achieve historic street facade on Claremore, hint at the contemporary design on Lake Avenue, and then go full contemporary in the portions of the property that can't be seen from the streets. I can't stress enough that this is a compromise that allows the building to be saved. The applicant prefers contemporary architecture. We worked through a variety of ideas, which included demolition of the structure with a new contemporary home built there, stripping the original house of its fenestration and siding, and making them look more contemporary with clean windows and stucco to match the contemporary addition. And this compromise is something that I think achieves a great work of architecture. You get a hint of a contemporary future through the portal from Claremore over the hedges on Lake Avenue. The owner enjoys the contemporary architecture with great living spaces, but the street facade on Claremore is respected. And as a personal note, I was born on this block, lived there for the first 10 years of my life, and this is a very, very important house to not only Flamingo Park, but to me personally. It's a lot of memories and a lot of significance to me as an architect and someone who grew up on this block. So we worked very hard to strike a compromise that would balance historic preservation with the client's desires for contemporary architecture. And I think we struck the right balance. The windows on Lake Avenue, the genesis of those is the small window that faces west. You can see it over the roof of the carriage house in the middle there on the lower roof. It's the same proportion as that. And the pattern is derived, and the genesis of its shape is from that window.
I can appreciate that your client enjoys contemporary architecture and prefers this. However, this is a contributing structure in a historic district, and so demolition, I really doubt would have been approved, as would have removing the siding and changing the windows. So I appreciate that this is the application that was submitted. However, I do have concerns that the roof line that's introduced, the shed roof line, is a departure and does not follow the compatibility standards, which say that the roof shape of a building is a major distinguishing feature, and the roof shape of a new building, but this also applies to alterations, should be compatible with those of the buildings in the historic district. And so I think that I appreciate that this is a one-story addition. I do recall when you designed a two-story addition for it, so I think that it certainly prioritizes the historic structure, but I do have some concerns about the roof line. Is that something that the client would be amenable to removing or somehow adjusting and working with staff?
I can't speak for them personally. I know I can only speak to the dialogue we've had in growing from demolishing the structure to stripping the structure to striking this compromise. The angled roof allows for a great amount of light to come into the kitchen. It'll create a great interior space, and it'll be quite beautiful. I understand that it's not historic. The attempts there, the reason I moved to this slide is the bottom left-hand corner is the Lake Avenue view. In lowering it from 6 and 12 to 5 and 12, we use this photo to show that the elevation, the raised roof cannot be seen from Lake Avenue. You see it a little bit from Claremore, but we're treating it with the same roof material and the same pitch. So as you see from in this elevation, which is the only one you'll see, we believe we struck a great balance. What I really like about the design is that it only hints at the contemporary architecture from Claremore, and to me it's a great balance, and it's somewhat exciting to know that there's something different back there, and it's inviting in that way.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
This Alexander Vargas is the owner of the property with her wife Gopal.
Yeah, sorry, I haven't been sworn in, so I don't know if I need to before I speak. Yes.
Ms. White, could you please swear her in?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, so,
Would you please state your name for the record, ma'am?
yes, Alexandra Vargas.
And could you speak closely into the
Could you
microphone?
pull the microphone down? Yes, thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Alexandra Vargas. First of all, I want to thank you for considering our property, and then thank you so much for doing the presentation, and Frederick as well. I want to reiterate that it is our preference for a contemporary design. However, we know this is a historical structure, and we value the history of it. We want to preserve it, and we want to work in order to make the property fit our family, and at the same time, preserve the history and the architecture of it. That part of the kitchen, we redesigned it a little bit so that it wouldn't be visible from Lake Avenue. And I know we have a rendering showing the view from Lake Avenue, but it really wouldn't be seen from going in that direction or in any direction. There is a property next to it that is 2-story as well. So it's not shown on the rendering. So I just wanted to make sure that it is part of the assessment, that there is a property that is 2 stories on that side, where currently on the rendering is like a empty lot, which is not the case whatsoever. So we work with the architects to make sure that it was not visible from Lake Avenue. So I just wanted to mention that. And we understand it's a historic district, we understand it's a historic property, and we actually want to preserve that, and we want to work with the city in order to preserve it and the architecture of it. So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any further questions of the applicant?
It's this,
Okay.
this, Alex was referring to the bottom left rendering.
The bottom one is Lake Avenue, and that lot that is green.
Could you please speak in the microphone? Sorry, just we're broadcasting on television.
Sorry about that. So on the bottom rendering, that lot is a 2-story house. So you really wouldn't be able to see the roof line that we were proposing for the kitchen, just to get more lighting into that area of the home. And we actually lower it. Originally we wanted something taller, so we lower it a little bit to make sure that it wasn't visible.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you. Do you have any members of the public that would like to speak on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into executive session.
I really like it. I think that the more contemporary portion of the house actually enhances the historic portion of the house. So I have a little issue with that roof, but if the architect doesn't have an issue, I think that, it's going to be a nice addition, but I understand your concerns also, but the shed roof probably is not too visible from the street.
I like everything that's been presented as well, and I think it's a reasonable request that staff is making as far as the 6 feet separation, but there's nothing here that really raises an eyebrow for me.
Okay, any further discussion? Would someone like to make a motion?
You're waiting for a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do it. I move that Historic Preservation Board approve application number 21-95, 800 Claremore Drive, for alterations, additions, ad valorem, pre-construction in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in section 94-49 of the city's zoning land development regulations. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes common substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm Beach. Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standards 9 and 10. The conditions include the following. The new garage addition shall be separated from the accessory structure by a minimum of 6 feet and can be achieved either through a reduction in the garage or a shifting of the accessory structure towards the south.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in,
Point of order, Madam
Yes.
Chairperson, are we adding in that third option to the condition?
I think that that's not reflected in the condition. Did you think that that
So,
needed to be added?
As long as the 6 feet is met, I just had offered some suggestions of how to accomplish it. If there's a third or additional ones, I think as long as it meets the 6 foot, we're fine.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, your case has been approved. Good luck with your project. Thank you. I look forward to seeing how it turns out. This is the first time I've seen something so contemporary, but it does appear that you were very thoughtful, and so we appreciate that. Thank you. I unfortunately have to excuse myself, and so we need to elect a chair to run the rest of the meeting. So, do I suggest, or does someone else suggest?
I think that for point of order, I think that it would be appropriate for someone else to suggest and make a motion,
Okay.
and then we would have to second and go from there.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion who's going to run the rest of the meeting?
To make a motion for an alternate chairperson, as Madam Chairperson needs to leave at this time, and our normal vice chair is not here.
All right, I'd like to make, here we go, I'd like to make a motion for an alternate chairperson at this time, of which I'd like to nominate Gabriel Fuan, Mr. Osowski. How's that? Did I do all right on the motion?
Yes. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations, Gabe.
Thank you. Such a
You only have 3
responsibility.
cases. I know you got this.
The bouquet of roses and the confetti will be here any minute.
Well, you all will have to help me.
Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You
And
too.
thank you, and sorry to excuse myself.
So board, just a note that you still have a quorum, and for our alternate member, you would be voting at this point too.
I will be voting.
No, your alternate to your right would also be voting now.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. All right, so bear with me, but, so next case is case 21-96 on 441 26th Street. We have the applicant to present.
Yes, good evening. My name is Fernando Rodriguez. I am the representative for the owners, also the designer of the project. I don't have a presentation, but Frederic can go through her presentations, and I'm available to answer any questions after. Thank you.
So we go to staff report and we come back for later questions.
Frederic Mettner, presenting case 21-96, an ad valorem pre-construction application for modifications to 441 26th Street. It is a contributing property in the Old Northwood Historic District. As you can see, it is on a very large lot. It is a one-story primary structure and has a one-story accessory structure. And what's unique is this front terrace and rounded steps. It really has a great facade with lots of details. And the applicant is requesting to make modifications to the northwest corner of the existing structure and site. So back here by the driveway, as well as site work in general. So this would be the new, would be removal of some of the existing house. Only a small portion of that was original. There was a later flat roof addition, and then it would be this construction of this side entry and these angled corners and some details to reflect what's happening in the front to allow for the driveway to go back in another entry feature here. There'd be a new covered terrace at the back and a pool on the east side of the lot. And again, the lot is large enough that it could accommodate these additions and modifications, all remaining one story. So the demolition plan that was presented, so you can see this flat roof addition here, and then there is a small portion where it will be projecting from the side. Again, this hatched area is original. This was an addition, the green were additions, later additions, and then that is being replaced with this proposed large great room and entry feature. So the front elevation and what is in the lighter color on the east, the west of the property, and this is as viewed from the west. So this is the south facade and its addition on the west. This is viewed from the west, where the darker shaded one is the new. Is what's being proposed, and you can see there's a lot of elements that relate to the front facade, such as the balustrade and the parapet detail, as well as the roof line over the entry. These are the other two elevations. There's also a covered terrace in the back. In a minute, you'll see the condition where, again, there has to be a 6-foot building separation. The roof line can extend 3 feet, but from point of column to the face of this building needs to be 6 feet. It does meet all the compatibility criteria, standards 9 and 10, and so again, we are recommending approval, just that the covered terrace shall be separated from the accessory structure by a minimum of 6 feet at the column and wall plane. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
So can you, Ms. Midney, please show us in plan where the 6 feet separation
Yes.
Is required?
So there's a terrace here, and there needs to be a 6-foot separation between the covered terrace and the existing accessory structure. Let me see, actually, this.
Also,
This one is a little better. This shows, because before it was connecting, so this is an updated one where they're 3 feet to the roof overhang, but then the actual column face will have to be 6 feet. And so it's just at this rear piece behind the covered terrace.
Thank you. And I want to also to understand what is happening in the south facade on the main entrance, where we have a new balustrade on top of that entrance that was not existing before.
New balustrade typical. I will let the applicant respond. Oh, yes, above here.
Correct.
Thank you.
So why is that balustrade?
I don't know. I'm going to have to defer that to the applicant.
Can you, yeah.
Yes, so the original house, we looked back at historic pictures of it, and it did have that balustrade that we are showing. Most of these balustrades have rotten away or are completely missing. The one over the entry feature is completely gone, but from historic pictures we could see that that was the original design. And that's why we were proposing to bring it back. A little bit of context, the owners of this house also live actually on the house across the street from the one on 28th Street, which is a historic property. And they really want to bring this home to, to what it deserves to be, a proper contributing structure, and not in the somewhat derelict condition that it is right now.
And do you have those pictures available? No?
I haven't seen them.
I could provide them, but yeah, they're not historic. They're from the 90s, but they did show when they purchased this house, I believe in 96, it did have that existing in the house.
Okay, another question. Do you agree with the condition of the 6 feet? You know that you will have to do that, right?
When originally we had designed it closer, part of the reasoning is there's an existing walkway that connects the car parking to the rear of the house. I don't know if I can. So you can see there's an existing walkway that connects to where these proposed steps are. We wanted to connect it because in the future, if needed, we would need to make a ramp there due to the owner's medical conditions, and we wanted to have a covered landing when that happened. But in conversations with Frederique, she suggested that we pull back the structure 3 feet. That's what we showed. And if it's 6 feet to the column, I don't think that would be an issue. We would be willing to do whatever the commission thinks is necessary.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions to applicant or staff?
If I could clarify the 6 foot, so it is a zoning code requirement. So that is something that the board cannot waive this evening. It will have to proceed with that. Otherwise, they would seek a variance.
Any other questions? Seeing none, a member of the public to speak on this case? Seeing none, we go to executive discussion. No. And somebody wants to make a motion?
I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 21-96 for ad valorem additions and alterations in accordance with standards 9 and 10 as set forth in the Historic Preservation Ordinance number 35502. The motion is based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitutes competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance and the Historic Preservation element of the Comprehensive Plan of the City of West Palm. The conditions are: 1, the covered terrace shall be separated from the accessory structure by a minimum of 6 feet.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Congratulations. Next case number 21-99, 5301 North Flagler Drive.
I have not been sworn in. So.
Right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Scott DeCunha from
Use the
Seabreeze
microphone, please.
Can you use your microphone?
Scott DeCunha from Seabreeze Roofing. We are here to replace the roof at 5301 North Flagler. We're proposing to replace the metal roof with either a concrete tile roof or an asphalt dimensional shingle roof. So I'll let Frederique take over with her side. And
Okay, let's listen to the staff report.
Frederique Mittner for case 21-99, alterations at 5301 North Flagler Drive. Subject property also corner lot on the northwest side of 52nd Street and North Flagler Drive in the Northwood Harbor Historic District. These are some images of the structure. It is a bungalow style home that has a Victorian shingle on it currently. It has been painted. As in conversations with the applicant, it has rusted over time and needs to be replaced. It could very well be the original roof. So this is kind of the pattern that it has currently. They were proposing a flat concrete tile. This happens to be the property just to the north. If a metal shingle is not utilized, staff believes asphalt shingle is much more appropriate than the flat concrete tile that is proposed. So that determination was based on the compatibility standards, Secretary Standards 6 and 9. And so we're recommending denial of the concrete tile request, but recommend the use of asphalt shingles for this house. So again, this is the house. And we do believe if a metal shingle is not utilized, that an asphalt shingle would be preferred.
Questions to staff?
Do you know how long the steel shingle has been in place?
How long the existing ones have been on there?
Uh-huh.
I'll double check the date of construction, but I do believe they are the original materials. This one, 1935.
Okay, thank you.
So what is the reason that this needs to be replaced?
the roof is leaking at the time. It's an old roof, so a lot of the underlayments have deteriorated, so it's in need of replacement. To go back with the steel panels, the steel shingles, those are only available in galvanized steel, which the proximity to the intercoastal and the ocean, the salt water would rust them out quickly. The roof has been coated. When you look up close on the roof, you'll see rust spots that have bled through the coating. The reason why it was coated in the first place was to try and stop the rust, but not a successful attempt. So.
Any other questions? So seeing none, is there any other member of the public that would like to speak on this case? Seeing none, we move into executive discussion. The case, the recommendation from staff is to deny the case based on the decision of using flat concrete tile. But if the applicant is willing to use asphalt shingles, then I guess that staff is in agreement to that, right? So
would it be okay to word it as approval of asphalt shingles?
Or a condition of
I think
use of
that
asphalt shingles in lieu of metal. Or the condition would be use of the same material, or if not the same material, asphalt and no metal shingles. No concrete tile. No concrete tile. Did I say that right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, the way I'm seeing the staff report, metal shingles or even asphalt shingles are more appropriate. Flat concrete, that's why we've got the denial recommendation. So,
yeah, I mean, I understand the use of new metal shingles if they only come in galvanized. They are not going to last long, so asphalt shingles are probably more appropriate. So if the case came with a recommendation of denial, and
rather than a denial, would it be
and approved with
possible
conditions.
to defer for a month and direct the applicant to come back and work with staff? Or do you think it just, no?
Just approve with conditions.
I think that, I mean, if somebody wants to make a motion to approve with conditions, and the condition would be to use asphalt shingles instead of concrete tiles.
Yeah, okay, well, I move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 21-99 for alterations and additions in accordance with standards 9 and 6, as set forth in section 94-49 of the city's, what? I got 6 and 9 here on the report. Okay, but I flipped it. I did 9 and 6 rather than 6 and 9. So I'm undiagnosed dyslexic, so. The motion is based on testimony presented along with the application submitted in the staff report, which constitutes common substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent, historic preservation ordinance, and the historic preservation element of the comprehensive plan of the city of West Palm Beach, Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation, specifically standards 6 and 9. With the condition that the replacement shingles are either metal or asphalt shingles rather than the flat concrete tile.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? Okay, motion carries.
All right.
Motion approved.
Oh, no, sorry.
Next case is case 21-100, 512 32nd Street.
The applicant has asked if I could share the images. Frederic Mittner, case 21-100 for alterations at 512 32nd Street. Also a significant lot on the south side of the street in the Old Northwood Historic District. As you can see, it is a Mediterranean Revival style home, most notable because John Vogt was the architect of this house. The request is to replace the roof. There is an S-tile roof on there now. The applicant would like to replace it with an S-tile. However, staff has significant concerns because it is, again, a John Vogt house, one of the very few ones. It's known as Casa Dia de Fiesta, and even in a write-up of the Northwood development where it calls out his houses, specifically calls out this house, not in the graphic here, but in the text, and also the statement that the houses have barrel tile roofs. Again, it's such a prominent house. It is a main house and an accessory. I think we could perhaps work with the applicant on the accessory, but because it is a hip roof and especially the stairwell is so visually prominent, I deferred this permit to the board and this request to the board because, again, of its significance. And so staff, to meet Secretary Interior Standards 6 and 9 and the compatibility standards, we are recommending the use of a true barrel tile on this house. Thank you.
Questions to staff? So when the original roof was replaced?
I don't know. I looked in the permit records, and as far back as our system goes, I wasn't able to find it. So it may have been done before it was a historic district, certainly not with the owners, these owners, but I couldn't find evidence of when that happened.
Okay, thank you. Questions to the applicant? So staff is recommending the use of true barrel tile. So
Our concern is that the guest house, the accessory house behind the main house, it has the same S tile that's currently on the main house. So we'll have mismatched tile for as long as it takes until the guest house, accessory house needs to be repaired or replaced.
So why don't use barrel tile on both houses? I mean, this is a Sean Volk, design,
Understood.
and I think
Is it more
that-
valuable to have the houses matching, the units matching, or is it more important for the historical integrity to have a mismatched house for the next 10 or 15 years? I guess that's the ultimate question. We'd prefer to stay with the S tile and keep it consistent with the accessory structure and the current look of the house. So,
And I guess to clarify, only the main house is the subject. They are not planning on re-roofing the rear house for the tile. They've done the flat roof back there, but obviously that's not visible, so it's just the front.
yep.
So any other questions to applicant?
No questions.
No questions, so we go into executive discussion, so
I mean, that, since the early 90s, I remember, this has been a bright line for the Preservation Board, where S-tile versus the traditional barrel tile. I don't think that we can approve an S-tile in this type of situation. If we're replacing it, needs to be brought back to the barrel tile. I know it's more expensive, but this is what really brings out the charm in these houses. So, I mean, it's a material difference between the two. It's noticeable on front curbside appeal, and I mean, I would make a motion to approve with the barrel tile, the replacement being a barrel tile roof. And I understand the desire to have the cost effectiveness of the S tile. I mean, everyone wants the S tile because it saves so much money, but this house really should go back to the barrel tile. That's all.
any other comment? I mean, I agree, so I don't know if the applicant wants to comment. You have the possibility of rebuttal, or we just go to a motion. Somebody wants to make a motion?
Well, I feel comfortable doing the same thing as we did, just the case before this, making the approval with the requirement that it is the natural barrel tile. So I'm going to go ahead and move that the Historic Preservation Board approve application number 21-100, 512 32nd Street, for alterations and additions in accordance with standards 6 and 9 as set forth in section 94-49 of the city's zoning land development regulations. Motions based on the testimony presented along with the application submitted and the staff report, which constitute competent substantial evidence. In addition, the approval of this request is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the Historic Preservation Ordinance, the Historic Preservation element of the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach, Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation, specifically standard 6 and 9, with the condition that the replacement roof be the true barrel roof tile rather than the S tile.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone oppose? No. So motion carries with a barrel tile condition. Thank you. And this is the end of tonight's meeting. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone oppose? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.